Okay, so quizzes make sense? Ish? Yeah. So the idea is you gotta get 10 of them. Gotta get 10, but you can do more. And the more you do, and the better you do on them, the better your average. Historically, that's what's happened. That's what's happened historically. Okay, so that's quizzes, and basically it's just a way of making you stay current with the course because the quizzes are somewhat timely. I try to keep them on about a 1-week lag. So if we've done, for example, exponential modeling this week, next week's quiz will be on exponential modeling. If we do intro to probability this week, next week's quiz will be on probability. So I try to keep them about a week out so you've learned it in class, maybe you've hammered away at a couple of the homework problems, and then once you've learned it in class, hammered away at the homework problem, then you kind of put it to the back burner, and then you do the quiz for the following week, and that way you've revisited it a couple different times. Kind of like that constant kind of re-exposure to a topic until it makes sense in your subconscious. Okay, there you go. Work with each other. The only caveat I have about that is make sure you turn in your own work, like turn in your own individual components of your assessment. But please work with each other on it. I love that. I love when you guys teach each other how to do stuff. That makes my day. We very rarely, outside of a school setting, operate in a vacuum without using resources. It's just so funny that we've gone through probably 16 years of your educational lives where you sit in a time situation with a pencil and a piece of paper and have to regurgitate stuff back. It's like nothing else on earth works like that except maybe, I don't know, maybe certification exams for being a welder or something like that. Maybe work like that. But yeah, anyway. Projects. Next piece of the puzzle, projects. These are like quizzes, but they're different in a couple ways. First of all, they're all uploaded right now. Every single project you're going to need is already uploaded. The first one is a formula review project. One of the more important algebraic skills that students struggle with sometimes is being able to mathematically manipulate formulas. And this is crucial. This is extraordinarily crucial. I remember helping a buddy a few years back. He was trying to work, it's actually in the project. A buddy working on an engine had to do an octane calculation for some kind of part he was put. I don't understand what the hell he was talking about. But it had an equation. I'm like, I'm on it. And he needed to solve for a certain variable. And I didn't know what the hell the formula was, had no idea, but I was able to help him through using the kind of the pieces from this project. So although there's not a whole lot of math in this class, it's mostly statistics and probability, the math that is there is still important to know. We'll be doing things like weighted averages by hand, which require a little bit of algebra, a little bit of division, a little multiplication, a little bit of formula manipulation. So that project is something I put together to help you do that. The next project is on what's called dimensional analysis, which is kind of an interesting topic. It helps you explain, for example, why it's so devastating when a barrel of oil cracks open off of a freight liner and hits the ocean. You know, why we make such a big deal about oil slicks? Well, you're going to see why. Because there's a dimensional analysis perspective to that problem that is kind of staggering when you think about it. Another application was me and my son building a frog pond in our front yard, trying to figure out what size of a pump that we needed to put in the pond. And I was like, well, Max, do you think this hose is just about the right flow? And I put the hose down. He's like, that's perfect, Daddy. And I had to figure out what they sell pumps in gallons per hour. How many gallons per hour? So I grabbed an Nalgene bottle and I said, okay, Max, when I stick the hose in the bottle, press this button on the stopwatch. And when it overflows, press it again. Ready, Daddy? Put the hose in. Beep. Beep. 2.4 seconds. 1 quart in 2.4 seconds. A couple quick mental calculations. I had figured out I needed a 400 gallon per hour pump. That's dimensional analysis. Being able to get from one measurement or unit to something else that you need via either manual calculations, which is part of that, and or Google, which is the other part of that project, using both kind of pieces. The problem with dimensional analysis is it usually doesn't occur in math textbooks. You know where it usually occurs? Some of you may have experienced this before. Say that again? Architecture? It's a huge part of architecture, but that's not often taught there. Are you studying architecture, by the way?
No, but when you said it, I started thinking of scale, not
yes.
the weight scale.
Oh, but a scale on a drawing. Yes, 1/4 inch to 10 feet. Yeah, for sure. That's a part of it too.
Actuarial?
Before that even. It occurs in all these places, for sure. For sure. It occurs. Chemistry classes. Oh, have any of you done that kind of stuff in chemistry where you're doing like the moles to whatever to balance in the equations? Huge chunk of that is dimensional analysis. Where do the chemists have all the fun? This stuff is like life math. Being able to deal with this stuff on a daily basis, at least at comfort level, knowing how to get the results you need. So anyway, the projects essentially, they kind of augment what we do in class. They're all math-based, of course, but what they do is they go after topics that need either deepening or just they're parallel enough not to be covered in class on quizzes and exams, but they're still important. The last project right now, and it might change, is how to get into Excel and create graphs in Excel, pie charts, bar charts, line graphs, scatter plots, things like that, stuff that you might actually have to do in later classes. Some of you may have already done that stuff already, in which case the last project will be a walk in the park for you. But that's not the kind of thing we do directly in class because we can't. There's no computers in here except for this one. So it's just, they're standalones, they're already all posted. You could start working on the first project tonight if you wanted to. I'm not going to make you, of course. It's not due till week 3. But they're already hyperlinked, they're already uploaded. If you take a look at them, we'll crack one open for you here. Let's crack open week 3's project, which is all about formulas. Okay, here's the explanation of me and my buddy Dan. I think that was 1992 when I did that. Cool. The next problem, the more current one, Max, is a little bit lower. But anyway, if you look at it, it's kind of like reading a bit of a textbook. It's like a standalone chapter of a textbook where I tend to type like I talk, and I'm Italian. So you're going to be reading, somebody in my 244 class last period said it helps when I read your projects aloud because they can actually hear me talking to them. Like my ahas and all that stuff. Like, like little things like pretty useful, you know, little things like that. So anyway, I use some medical stuff, BMI, BSA, interesting stuff. I get nursing students in here? Any nurses? Yeah, I guess nursing, awesome. I try to sneak that in too. Sometimes on projects I put answers in red next to the problems, but you'll find out that you have to show me how to get those. There's a little W right there. We'll come back to all this. You'll know what a W means. I'll say it now. You may have to revisit this. A W means you have to show me how to get the answer. Now, it stands for work, but that might mean just explaining to me with sentences how you got an answer. It doesn't necessarily mean algebra, although algebra is probably the most efficient way of doing it. But you have to show me how to get, in this particular problem, from this equation, I have a hard time highlighting it, this equation right here to this equation right here, using good mathematical steps. Okay? These are the kinds of things I was talking about as far as this first project goes. Okie doke. Mid-parental height. This is how to figure out how big your kid's going to be, ish.
Does it show you how to do that?
That's what the rest of the project does.
Oh, good. Okay.
That's the beautiful part of it. The rest of the project walks you through like this right here.
Okay.
This is what I taught my friend Darren in the dining hall at Pencader back in '92, and I realized at that moment, like, I think I stumbled onto something that will explain to more math students how to solve formulas. So there's the first project. I'll show you the second one, so you can kind of get I think it's in week 6. Yep. Dimensional analysis. Crack this one open. Okay, again, just it's me. Why is that text look like that? Huh, interesting. Anyway, down here, it's a bit of reading. There's some more red answers for you. But you'll see where the stuff you have to do is. There's lots and lots of examples. And then you've got these things, 3 points, 3 points, 5 points, 5 points. It kind of makes sense. If you're 1 million seconds old, how old are you in years? Well, I'm telling you, it's 31.7. Your job is to show me why it's 31.7. Isn't that kind of wild? 1 billion seconds is 31.7 years. Isn't that wild? 1,000 seconds is something like, I don't know, like 3 minutes or 4 minutes or something like that. 1 million seconds is 6 days, something like that, maybe 6 days. I figured it out last term at some point. 1 billion seconds is 31.7 years. Isn't that wild? It's wild to think about that because you hear those words, million, billion, trillion. We're inundated with those in the wow, we spent a lot of money, $2 million. That's nothing. When you're talking about 1 billion is this big. And then 1 trillion is 1,000 of those. It's the idea of dimension, scales as we were talking about before. Yeah, crazy. Here's the oil rig question. So anyway, you guys see what you have to do in these? You don't have to print these things out. You can just do them on scrap paper, hand of scrap paper. That's totally fine. You can type them. I'm not making it mandatory that they're typed yet because of the math symbols. But by all means, you can type them if you want to, if that's easier for you. A lot of folks have an easier time typing than writing. Please, Natasha.
Can we just, when we go on there, it'll say open it into an edit file. Can we just type it?
If you can do that, by all means. Yeah, if you've got Adobe that can do that or whatever, yeah, by all means do that if you want to. For sure, for sure. I'm not going to force you to print stuff if you don't need to. But yeah, if you want to do that, I got no problem with that at all. So the projects are like that. Each one's got its own little topic, and you'll get in there and knock those out. And they are standalones in that the stuff that you learn in those projects, I don't put in the quizzes, I don't put on the exams. They're like their own things. They're like their own, they're not from the textbooks. They're chapters I wish were in textbooks, but aren't. Same thing though, work with people on them, work with the tutors on them, work with me on them. Use outside resources on them. I actually force you to use outside resources on a couple of them. I make you go online to look at stuff and do stuff, so. Cool? 4 of those, 25 points a pop, that's 100 more points. And you got 100 and 100 right there. The only last thing are exams, and I still call them this even though they're kind of atraditional exams. There are 2 of them. One's in week 5 and one's during exam week. And when I say during exam week, they are turned in on week 5 and they're turned in during exam week. They're completely done outside of class. They're the cumulative part of quizzes. Quizzes are the very short range assessment. Learn something, quiz. Learn something, quiz. Learn something, quiz. Learn something, quiz. The exams are kind of the larger cumulative chunk of assessment where you think of them as like a bunch of quizzes together, if you will. Like how well are you retaining as the course goes on? How well are you remembering grade now that we're into exponential modeling? So it's the idea of how can we tie stuff together into one cohesive whole. Please, Natasha, go ahead.
Do they have a midterm and a final in there?
That's essentially what they are. But they're not your traditional, I'm in class with a pencil and a test and sweat and a TI. It's, you can go use the internet. I want you to go use other resources. That's what they are. You're going to be in Excel doing things on these assessments. So essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make, this is the first time I've tried this, with 85% of my course has always been out of class. I used to have all the quizzes out of class, all the projects out of class, and half of each exam out of class. So you would do half the class, half the exam would be in class, and then half the exam would be out of class. I'm trying it all out of class to see what happens. The out of class assessments have been phenomenal for the past 2 years. So this is the next step, is to try to, based on student feedback, let's try them all and see what happens. So work with each other on them, for sure. Turn in your own work. Don't have one person doing all the work and turning in 5 identical things, because that pisses me off and I give you all a 0 then. So do your own work, obviously, but work together. You know what I mean when I say work together, yes? You're bouncing ideas off of each other. One person gets stuck, so somebody else helps them get through that stuck point, like I was explaining to Mike and the tutors before. Same thing. Make sense? Yeah, there's your assessment. So you got 400, a minimum of 400 total points. You could have more, right? You could have more if you do more quizzes. So you could have 410, 420, maybe 500, depending on how many quizzes I get up there. Yeah? Any questions so far? Okay, how do you turn those into a grade? It's pretty simple, actually. I'm on a 10-point grading scale. All you got to do is add up all the points you've got and divide by how many you could have gotten. Now, the quick and easy answer is I'm going to email you a progress report every week. So every week on Friday, maybe not this Friday because it depends on if I get stuff back from Amber or not, but you'll get an email from me every Friday with a little grid with all your grades in it to let you know how you're doing, including your letter grade at the time in the course. So if you don't want to wait, or if you can't wait, I got a little calculator down here you can do. You put in how many exams and quizzes and projects you have. So, you know, suppose at this point in time you've turned in 1 exam, you've turned in, let's say you've done the 10 quizzes, and let's say you're up to 3 projects right now. And on that exam, you got a 95. Let's say on the quizzes, you did 10 quizzes, didn't you? So let's say you've gotten like a bunch of 9s, and then a bunch of 10s. Keep track for me, guys. 1, 2, let's put 10 up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's say you got an 8. Let's say you got a 1 on that one, just because it was a bad day. And your projects are a 25. Let's say you got a 24, 23, and a 20. Oops. Whoops. Hit the wrong button. Hit tab. 23 and 20. Right now, you're sitting on an 89.8%. Okay? But let's say we use that rainy day coupon on that quiz that you got a 1 on. And instead of getting a 1, you now have a 10. You recalculate your grade. Now it's a 93. So that's the idea of having this handy. You can recalculate your grade dynamically. You can also plan on what you have to get on certain things to get certain grades later, that kind of thing. So, does it make sense? Natasha, go ahead.
Are you planning on sharing all of these little tools with the other math departments ever?
Yeah.
Been up for 10 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he does.
I go to statewide, nationwide conferences and give my information out. It's the inertia thing. It's the same reason we still don't use the metric system in America, because it's too hard to change things once they're going. But it's also the Andy Dufresne Shawshank Redemption thing. Or I'm Andy with my pickaxe. 32 years later, withered old man, gray ponytail. But I try. I can't. It's like lead a horse to water thing, right? Here it is. Here it is. It seems to work. I think my students come out of these courses learning things, and they don't hate it.
Well, I know last year my math teacher had an issue with Blackboard because it kept on saying people's grades were out of it for the amount of points.
Oh.
So nobody knew what their grade was
Oh.
in that class.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about these progress reports, it's a really quick thing you can do in Excel, where you make a mail merge document, and I just go in and grab your guys' numbers out of your Excel spreadsheet and shoot it off to you. It takes literally 30 seconds a day, or 30 seconds every Friday to send you guys progress reports. You don't have to rely on Blackboard, because you don't know how Blackboard, I have no idea how Blackboard works. So, or do I want to for that matter? No.
See, but you're also a computer genius.
No.
You program all this stuff.
Well, yeah.
You do all
I'm
this.
a geek. Yeah,
You're
be
good.
careful, I'm a geek. I'm not a genius. Geeks like this. Geeks like this, creating. Remember the question I asked, why were computers invented? First off, like this. This is exactly why computers were invented, to help us do these math. I mean, you guys could do this in your heads. An exam is 100 points. 10 quizzes is another 100 points. That's 200 points. 3 projects is 75. 275 points divided into the sum of all of that. But isn't that easier to do it that way? And what's the chance of you messing up doing it by hand? Probably pretty good, right? This way there's no screw up. I appreciate what you're saying. I do. I appreciate what you're saying. But that's the beauty of it. I mean, shouldn't we be using it? It's 2014, for God's sake. Yeah. Frankie, please.
Sean, the projects are due week 3, week 6, and when?
I don't know. Let's go look.
Okay.
I think it's 8 and 10, but let's check.
Okay, that's what.
8 and 10.
Okay.
Yep. Occasionally I'll shove things back. I don't shove things forward. So every once in a while a project it might coincide with like a quiz or 2 quizzes, and I don't like that too much. So what I'll do is I'll push a project back, or I'll push a quiz back. I'll move things around I don't want you guys doing 3 things for one day. It seems a little harsh. Even if the quizzes are optional to some degree. But I try to keep things the way they are. That way you can plan and keep your plan going. Thank you, Frankie, for asking. What else we got? Rules and hints. Okay, this page is what you think of. It's like a 10 Commandments kind of page. Thou shalt not. This is what pisses me off, so I put a frowny face next to it. So rather than reading that page to you, this is what your first quiz is on. It's due on Wednesday. So remember you have to do 10 quizzes for the course? Use this as the first one. Why is it not? Did I not click on it?
You did.
I thought I did. Maybe I didn't.
Red,
There we go. It's a true-false quiz based on that page. So your job is to, sorry, it's kind of small. I apologize for the font, a little bit teeny.
Oh no, there's.
Let's make it
heads
bigger.
in front. It's not the font. There's heads in front of me.
There we go. Oh, heads in the way. Gotcha. So I apologize for the screen being so damn low. So basically it's a true-false quiz based off information on that page. So the question is, if you miss a class in which an assessment is due to be turned in and do not inform you of your absence, you can turn it in any old time. That's the kind of thing. Go into that page and find the answer to that. That might be true, it might be false. You go figure it out. I will most likely forget anything said to me before or after class. True or false? Assignments turned in late, you still receive full credit. True or false? All that kind of thing. Go into that page and find the answers to all those questions, which all live on that page right there, the rules and hints page. So as far as your first, let's find that page again for you so you can see it. Here it is. It's definitely 1990s web page material, bunch of text. But this is where it kind of needs to be. It needs to be texty at this point. You need to have the big ideas in yellow and then the sub ideas in not yellow. Cool? Please.
If we know we're going to be absent, can we give our assignment to a buddy to turn in so we still get the credit, or
Yeah, why
is
not?
that
That's fine. Yeah, what I usually put on here is if you know you're going to be absent, turn it in ahead of time. But there's nothing wrong with that either. I see no problem with that.
I wake up when I'm sick and my buddy might.
Oh God, yeah, do that for sure. But please do that. Please do that. Yeah. I was thinking more of if you know you're going to be absent in 3 weeks when a project is due, make sure you get that turned in beforehand. But I guess there's no harm or foul with doing it that way either. That's good. That's good. Thank you for the question. Please.
If we can't make it up there, because I live in Frankfurt or whatever, if I'm sick or something, can I just email it to you?
We'll talk about that on a case by case. Yes. But let's make sure you talk to me about that before you do it, just because I don't use Blackboard, I don't have the slick submission tools yet. I'm still building them. So as long as you talk to me about it and we agree on it beforehand, I'm totally fine with that. And I love the fact you're asking about that, because I'm sure it applies to more than just you. So yeah, just don't do it automatically. Some of the stuff you have to email me to get to me, but if that happens on a case by case, by all means, yeah, let's be flexible about that for sure, especially if the weather ever turns and becomes winter-like. Cool? Makes sense? Come to January. So anyway, there's the rules hints page. I'm not going to read it to you because you can do the quiz and get your first of 10 knocked down. Enrichment, this is a page you might never, ever, ever go to. It's seriously, all it is all of my courses, 243, 244, 105, have one of this. It's just more interesting stuff that I've stumbled upon that's tied to the class, but you're not responsible for. So if you need enrichment on any topic, I put some math help areas that people have given me. Khan Academy folks have used that quite a bit. I'm kind of modeling what I do with YouTube after that a lot, quite a bit. Ask Dr. Math, Purple Math, Hippocampus. These are all fun little links that help people do math or statistics. Honestly, the most helpful thing I've ever seen as far as math help is just open a Google search and type in what you're trying to do, and you'll get millions of hits. And then it's just a matter of sorting through. Google is getting so good at figuring out what you mean, even if what you type isn't exactly what you mean. They can use probability statistics, which is what you're learning in this course. They're using those principles to assist in web searching. It's pretty amazing. So that's a lot of times the best way to get math help if it's 2 in the morning and I'm sleeping. So just pull your smartphone up and type it into your search bar and go. So you might never go to this page, ever. That's okay too. That is okay too. Outcomes, honestly, this is something you might never need unless the school that you're transferring to wants to see what this course is all about, in which case just email me, I'll send it to you. And college policies is lawyer talk. Stuff we have to have on there, student insurance and so forth, which is on all your syllabi from all your courses. There you go. There she is. How we doing?
Yeah.
Making sense?
Yes.
You guys believe in this? Yeah? So the big things are just stay current with the course. You have tons of assessments. Don't feel pressed to turn in every single quiz. I might post more than 1 quiz per week. I might throw up 2 quizzes for exponential modeling, for example, or 3 quizzes for probability. That doesn't mean you have to do all 3 of them, right? You have to do 10 quizzes throughout the course. That's it. 10 quizzes. If you've already done 8 and I post 3 quizzes, by all means, you can do all 3 of them. But you don't have to do all 3. As a matter of fact, you don't have to do any of those 3 necessarily, depending on at what point the term it is. But just keep track of them. Make sure that and you'll be getting progress reports from me every week. And I haven't made the grade book yet, but I think what I might do is put like a quiz counter in there somewhere where it counts how many you've done and say, remember, you still have blah, blah, more to do. I might throw that. That'd be kind of fun, actually. Yeah. Because I'm a genius. That was a sweetest thing, by the way. Thank you. It was so sweet to say that. But it's a helpful thing. It's a beautiful, helpful thing for you guys. You have 9 more to do or 10 more to do or something like that. We'll do that. That'll be good.
Smart smiley face next to it.
And put a smiley face. I'll make the smiley face change size with how many you have left to do.
Ooh.
If I can figure it out, I will. Cool?
Cool.
All right, now, with the remainder of time that we have, I have a question. I want to start and stop the camera again here. I want to get you guys thinking